So I just drew up the roadmap, the Tazkiyah roadmap again for those who I see some few new faces. We already did this in Tazkiyah 1 and 2. We're not going to go through it again, but for those who are new, we are discussing purification and elevation of the self, which is mandatory for every Muslim in the world to purify his heart and elevate his nafs. So that when he reaches Allah, he has qalbun salim and qalbun munib. Very good. Qalbun salim means, what is qalbun salim? Huh? Sound. What's the opposite of sound? Broken, corrupted, not functioning well. Okay? So sound heart means a heart that is solely focused on Allah. That's qalbun salim. A sound heart created by Allah to focus on Allah. We want to reach that. So that's ikhlas. And what is qalbun munib? What is qalbun munib? Huh? The heart that repents to Allah frequently, but munib means, inaba means returning to Allah. So the heart that returns to Allah frequently. Can you, as a human being, who is not a messenger, not a prophet, not sin? Can you not sin? You will sin. All of us will sin. So qalbun munib does not mean the one who does not sin. It means the one who returns to Allah very fast and very frequently when he sins. And sins are relative. You may not make big sins, but definitely you make small sins. So the munib is the one who recognizes his small sins, quickly goes back to Allah right away. Rasulullah, who has no sin, he made tawbah how many times in one day? In one narration 100, in one narration 70, and more than that. Why is he making tawbah? There's nothing to make tawbah for, right? That's because we don't understand tawbah correctly. Why is he making tawbah? Going back to Allah. Because he is Rasulullah. He is such a high level standard that for him, he feels he is falling short, even at his level. So he keeps coming back to Allah. Oh Allah, forgive me. Oh Allah, forgive me. So this is your job. Your job, and this becomes clear in Tazkiyah, is not to think that you can overcome your own demons. Your job is to submit to Allah. Do what you are told, and He is the one who will guide you. He is the one who will take you by the hand and increase your iman. You cannot increase your own iman. I'm saying this review for other people. You cannot say, I'm going to do this and get iman. What is it that you have control over in the process of Tazkiyah? What is it that you have control over? Yeah, okay, so the process. How do you drive the process of Tazkiyah? It's there. How do you go up in iman? Taqwa. Taqwa is what you do. Iman you don't do. Iman, Allah gives it to you. And it goes up and it goes down. Taqwa you do. What is taqwa? Give me some components of taqwa. What do you have to do with taqwa? Huh? Ibadah, dhikr, shukr, sabr. What else? Inaba, which is returning back to Allah. Right? Khushu'a in salah. Right? These are all things that you do. Taqwa. Along with your awareness of Allah. So what other part of that? You need knowledge, right? So knowledge and this action that you do is taqwa. Right? You increase taqwa, and Allah says, bring me taqwa. وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. Which means, fill your suitcases with taqwa on this journey of this life. He doesn't want your money, and He doesn't want your food. Eat what little you need to sustain yourself. And make what little you need to take care of your family, and a little bit more to take care of other families. And that's it. Come to Allah with taqwa. He doesn't want your riches and your wealth. He wants taqwa. You bring the taqwa. You do the taqwa. Taqwa is what you do. Iman is what you get from Allah. So that's just a quick summary. We are talking Tazkiyah 3. For those who missed Tazkiyah 1 and 2, it's a big leap. Because now we are talking about the manifestations of the sick hearts. And remember, they are not diseases. When we talk about backbiting and envy and anger, those are what? Symptoms of what? What are the two diseases of the heart? Yes. In Arabic, if you like the words in Arabic, which you should learn, shak and shirk. I like to make them like sound similar so you can remember easily. Sheen, sheen. Shak, shirk. Both are in the Quran, those words, by the way. Afillahi shak, that's in the Quran, right? And of course, shirk is in the Quran, as you know. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. So, shak is doubt in Allah and the Day of Judgment. And I will give you a litmus test right now. Who here does not have any doubt in Allah or the Day of Judgment? Don't raise your hand. I'm just doing a rhetorical question. Now, your first reaction is to say, Alhamdulillah, I have no doubt. And the truth is, the fact that you are here in the masjid means that you have iman. Alhamdulillah, may Allah make us of the mu'mineen. This is a witness for you. Prophet ﷺ said, anyone you see pray in the masjid regularly, be a witness for him that he is mu'min. Now you cannot say, I am mu'min. You cannot make tazkiyah for yourself. Meaning you cannot say, I have made tazkiyah. You cannot say that. Allah in the Quran forbids that. You cannot say, He said, وَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not say, I am purified and elevated. Do not say that. But someone can say for you, I bear witness that Rasulullah said, the one who prays in the masjid, he is mu'min. Doesn't mean he is perfect. He is mu'min. Prophet said, as-sadaqatu burhan, the one who gives sadaqah, he is mu'min. Doesn't mean that you are complete in your iman, but you have iman. So, we want to be balanced. If you are here, you are mu'min. Alhamdulillah. May Allah make us of the mu'mineen. However, do not think that your iman is complete. And do not think that you have achieved yaqeen. What is yaqeen? Certainty. Okay? Now, can you reach certainty? Is it possible for you? Yes, you can. Yes, the companions reach certainty, of course. Right? You cannot reach the yaqeen level of Rasulullah, who went to Mi'raj. Okay? So, but you will also not be judged at his level or held to his account. But you can achieve yaqeen. Yaqeen means certainty in Allah and the Day of Judgment. I will prove to you that we have some level of doubt. Some. And doubt, which is on the scale of iman, is levels. Just because you have some doubt doesn't mean that you're not mu'min. It just means that, is your level on the scale of the companion who threw his 2 dates before he jumped into the battle of Badr? You know why he threw his 2 dates? Why waste 2 minutes to eat these dates when 2 minutes I will be in Jannah sooner? See the yaqeen? Today, that's not going to happen with most Muslims. That kind of yaqeen. But I will give you a litmus test. If I told you for sure that tomorrow is the Day of Judgment, would your life change in any way? Would it change a little bit? Or would it change a lot? Okay, so then there's a doubt. You see? Not that there is a Day of Judgment, but you doubt that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you tomorrow. How dare you doubt? How dare you think that? You have no right to think that. You doubt that the judgment will come to you. Not just this, I will show you something extra, and it's hard to say because we all feel it. You feel that if the judgment will come tomorrow, you would be in Jannah. So this is something Allah mentioned in the Quran. You don't really have the right to feel that, right? So it's a kind of arrogance, but there's a doubt in there. Also, people today, Muslims, if something bad happens to them, what is their first reaction? Is it calmness and sakina and rida and contentment with Allah's plan? Or what is it usually? The first reaction?
Why it happened to me?
Yeah, anger. Okay? Anger. Now, anger is a sign of doubt. We talked about it. Why? Because you doubt what? What is it that you doubt? The qadr of Allah. But more than this, which is very, very insidious. You doubt the qadr of Allah. Fine. So you're doubting His power and control. There's something worse than this. His hikmah, His wisdom. What did Shaitan doubt the power of Allah, or did he doubt His knowledge and wisdom? His wisdom. His wisdom. What did he say to Allah? Look at this. He said to Allah, why would I bow to one that you have created from mud, and I have been created from this? Surely you made a mistake. Clearly you made a mistake. Or at least, oh Allah, let's discuss. Did Shaitan think that Allah didn't exist? No. He believes in Allah. Did Shaitan deny Allah's power and that He could be destroyed? In fact, he cowered in front of Him like a coward and said, oh Allah, please don't destroy me. So he knows. So what is it that made Shaitan? Because this is something people forget. People think Shaitan means atheist. That doesn't make any sense. Shaitan believes in Allah, but he doesn't believe in what? The hikmah of Allah, the amra of Allah, the command of Allah. So you see, unfortunately, many of us fall into that trap. Involuntarily. I will not say voluntarily like shaitan, so may Allah forgive us. But we question and doubt Allah's wisdom. So Allah sends down something. Sickness, loss of any kind. And first reaction, blame everyone and be angry. So then you are really angry with Allah. Are you allowed to be angry with Allah? No. This is called sakhat, anger with Allah. And of course, this is one of the major sins, to be angry with Allah. But we do it without knowledge, so may Allah forgive us. But we should know. It's not, you're not equal if you know and if you don't know, as Allah mentioned in the Quran. Knowing is better than not knowing. Yes, you may be forgiven because you don't know. But you are missing out on the great fruits of knowing Allah, which Allah will give the one who knows Him well. So we are talking about the symptoms of these two diseases. Doubt. I always explain doubt because it's hard to get sometimes. But desire is easy to understand. You all have desires, and you let sometimes your desire get the better of you. And this is kind of small shirk. Why is it a small shirk to follow your own desire? Because you are worshipping other than Allah. Right? Allah said, do this, and your nafs, which is your biggest enemy, not shaitan, said, do this. So you didn't listen to Allah, and you listened to your nafs. So you have taken as your God your own nafs. This is the word of Allah. Allah said, have you not seen, O Muhammad, those who take as their own nafs their God? This ayah is more relevant today than it is during the time of Rasulullah. You know why? During the time of Rasulullah, even though the people were kuffar in Quraysh, they did not follow their desires like we follow today. They did not indulge themselves in a hedonistic way like we do in the world now. So even Quraysh, they had principles. They did not follow their own desires as much as today. So this ayah is more relevant today. Today, the most common religion in the world is worshipping your own self. So we have to be careful of this. And Allah warned about this. Also, if you think, well, I'm not worshipping myself, that's not worship. I bring you back to the hadith of Rasulullah. When a Christian man converted to Islam, and he read the ayah in the Quran, that the Christians and Jews take as their priests and rabbis gods instead of Allah. So he didn't have a problem with the ayah. He said, I believe it is the word of Allah. Look how the mu'min always comes submitting, not like shaitan. He asked like the angels asked, why would you create a creation? He said, O Rasulullah, this ayah is in the book of Allah. I believe it. It is the word of Allah. However, I want to know, we never worshipped our priests and rabbis. So what is the meaning of this ayah? You see the difference between coming humble and coming arrogant, right? So Rasulullah said, when your priests and rabbis, when your priests and rabbis talk to you, do they not make halal that which Allah made haram, and make haram that which Allah made halal? He said, yes, of course. They have been doing this for centuries. Right? He said, this is the meaning of the ayah. You have taken them as gods, min dunillah. So, worshipping someone is following their command. That's what Rasulullah is telling you. So, if you follow your own desire, you worship yourself. If you follow someone else's desire, you worship them. And unfortunately, if you try to please someone while displeasing Allah, it is a kind of small shirk. That's called riyah. Right? And the Prophet said, I fear for you, the most thing I fear for you is the small shirk. It so creeps up on you. So hard to detect it if you're not looking. Right? Not learning. So if you're doing something and you want the people to like you because of that thing, then you are not doing it for Allah. So be careful of this. And if you have this in yourself, do not be upset that it's there, because it's there for everyone. But strive to eliminate it as much as you can. And it may take you 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. But the process of tazkiyah cannot begin until you first see it in yourself and hate it. You see that I did this thing for the people. And then dislike it, and then say, oh Allah, guide me. I don't want that. And then it will work. So we are talking about the symptoms. We talked about envy. We talked about arrogance. We talked about anger. We talked about backbiting. And then we started talking about the eyes. The eyes have a symptom too, brothers and sisters. And it affects the men and the women. But for the men, it affects them disproportionately, especially in the time that we live in now. So for the men, the symptom of lack of tazkiyah that shows up in the eyes is the gazing or the unrestricted gazing at the opposite gender in any form. And we went through last time, we said that zina, fornication, is levels. Rasulullah said there's a zina of the eyes and the zina of the hands and a zina of the ears. And the zina of those organs is when they do what their organs do. See, hear, touch. And we talked about how serious an offense it was to touch the opposite gender without, who is not related to you. So, may Allah protect us from that. And we went through detail in the Quran. We showed how important it is. You might seem like a small matter. The truth is, you and I both know that it's not a small matter. You both know. We want to minimize it because we are ashamed of what our community is going through. But the reality is, if it was a small matter, Allah would have mentioned it a lot or a little in the Quran. A little, because if it's something easy, right? Don't kill your kids. He says it one time. But if it's something hard, he says it many times, and he makes long ayahs. And in the Sunnah, we have many ahadith about this, guarding your gaze and protecting yourself, and for the women too. We mentioned that for the men, they become sick by this kind of lusting and gazing with the eyes. They become sick. Their heart becomes black. And it's the opposite of tazkiyah. You are indulging your desire, so you are going down on this scale. Okay? Towards the heart that is black and blind and weak. And if you protect your vision, that is a sign that you're taqwa. Because guarding your gaze is what is that? What is that an action of? Taqwa, right? Fearing Allah and knowing Allah. Knowing that Allah sees you and being afraid of that and knowing that the day of judgment is coming. That's taqwa. Every time you protect your vision, this is not something small. I'm going to teach you something very important. You know already, but this is how you gain iman. You gain iman like this. You see a woman and you want to look and you don't look. Your iman just increased. Not from you. You did not gain the iman. What you did was you did an action of taqwa. And Allah saw the action of taqwa, so He increased your iman. When He increases your iman, automatically you are closer to yaqeen, closer to loving Allah, closer to ikhlas. Who is the one who guides? Allah. Who is the one who will lead you to loving Allah, to yaqeen? Who is the one who will purify your heart? This cannot be understated. If you think that you have power to do anything, you will never win. You will never succeed. You do not have the power to make tazkiyah for yourself. Nor do you have the power to increase your iman. Nor do you have the power to even see the truth or know the truth. Only Allah can show it to you and guide you. This is the meaning of Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. You could be sitting in a lecture hall with the top 10 scholars of the world and they're giving you the best knowledge, and you will leave that place and you will have not gained anything if Allah wills. And you could be in the worst society on earth, and if Allah wills to guide you, He will guide you and you may become a messenger. In the middle of kufr. Right? And by the way, not all of the prophets necessarily had the kind of wahi that Rasulullah had, or the big messengers with Jibreel coming, and not all of them. Many people were inspired by the wahi of Allah in more subtle ways. In the middle of kufr. Lut. Look, Lut grew up in a terrible town. Right? During Rasulullah's time, the women used to walk around the Kaaba naked. Yet Rasulullah would pray there, and it would not affect him. Who is the one who is giving him that strength? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that's important to know, because until you submit and say, oh Allah, I want to be good. I want to have high iman. Oh Allah, I want pure heart. But be careful when you make this dua. I'm not saying be careful, don't do it. Do it, right? You will get it. And You may not like the way Allah brings you to that, but He will. Trust. There's no way that you say, oh Allah, I want to be in Jannah. I want to be good. I want to be in the highest level of Jannah. I want to have a pure heart, that He will not give it to you. Wallahi, He will. It's just, He may not bring you the way you like it. He will bring you the way you probably don't like it, because it goes against your own nafs. And the vision is one of those tools and ways to, one, see where you are on the scale, and two, increase your taqwa. Think about it. You might say, I live in a terrible country or time where everyone is not wearing clothes, so it's really hard. Now I can flip that for you. How about I tell you, you have more opportunity than someone in Saudi Arabia, right, to make taqwa. Because everywhere you turn, there is chance for taqwa, right? And imagine the level and the enormity of the magnification of your good deed, because it's so easy to do and so hard to resist, yet you have resisted. Whereas in other countries, if the women are covered, for example, it's not so hard to resist. So if you fall into the trap, your sin is higher. And if you avoid it, your reward is lower. So look at it that way. Because sometimes, I used to say to myself, even when I was younger, I wish I lived during Rasulullah's time. It's much easier, right? You don't know. It's not better for you. That's questioning Allah's wisdom. He put you at this time, and this is good for you. And do what you can with what you have. This explains the meaning of the hadith. Rasulullah said, there will come a time, and I'm not encouraging you to do little, but I like to give hope. There will come a time near the end of time, if the Muslims do 10% of their religion, they will be in Jannah. And you, O companions, if you do 90% of your religion, you will be in Jahannam. That's a relative judgment. Because the companions have Rasulullah with them. So their judgment is much higher. They have no choice but to be 100%. But we are living in a time and a place that's difficult. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge us differently, more relaxed, and that would explain why it is possible for you to be in the high levels of Jannah with those who are way better than you and me. But because Allah judged us differently, because He gave us different circumstances. This is why the woman who gave water to a dog can be in Jannah even though she was a prostitute. You don't know her circumstance. You give water to the dog, Allah will not, that's not enough. Okay? For her, it is enough. For you, what you have to look at yourself. What has Allah given you? This process is called what? When you give back from what Allah has given you. What is that called? Shukr. So you will be judged. Allah will say, every blessing I have given you. And that's very scary because we live in America. And you have every opportunity to do everything good. And you have every opportunity to be the best Muslim ever. You really do. SubhanAllah. But we're not. So we're falling short on our shukr. And shukr is part of taqwa. And if you do shukr, that's taqwa. You gain taqwa, you gain iman. And we talked about shahwa. Shahwa is an important concept in desire. Shahwa means strong desire for something specific that no other thing will replace. Shahwa also means lust, a passionate or overmastering desire or craving. This is important because some brothers come to you and say, brother, I know, I'm trying my best, but I can't break this addiction. By the way, right now we're talking about the eyes, but there's other addictions too. And this goes for all addictions. Can Allah break your addiction? First of all, who will overcome the addiction? You or Allah? Allah. But you have to do what you're supposed to do. So anyone you know who's an alcoholic, drug addict, addicted to anything, they can give it up. What's the evidence? Very few things are more addictive than alcohol. And the companions drank alcohol. And it was a staple for them. Of course, they were not companions yet because Rasulullah wasn't a prophet yet. They were before Rasulullah's time. They were drinking. But the drinking continued into the prophethood of Rasulullah. And the ayat are famous in the Quran, the 3 ayat that came to remove the alcohol. It is gradual. But when the last ayah came down, the alcohol was on their lips and in their mouth. And they heard the ayah. A man came running to a group of companions. The ayah came down forbidding alcohol. So the first two ayahs came down limiting it, but not forbidding it. When that last ayah came down, the companions spit out their alcohol and threw the bottles and broke the alcohol. How many alcoholics would do that today? Cannot. You get the point I'm trying to say? That addiction was easy to defeat. And it is easy to defeat by the power of Allah. And I was sharing this with the brother last week, and I guess it's a good point to make it here. Your heart is a unique organ that Allah has given you, the spiritual heart, which is attached to your physical heart, by the way. I don't know how. But it is together, because Rasulullah said there is mudgha in your heart, in your chest. Mudgha means piece of flesh. Rasulullah does not say nonsense words or by mistake. When he says a word, it means something. There is a piece of flesh in you that if it is good, your whole body will be good. So he is noting that the spiritual component of the heart and the physical are together. How? We don't know. And you know why we should not ask further than this? Except if you are just curious, out of curiosity, that's fine. Is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Muhammad sallam, I have not given you the full knowledge of the soul. And you have very limited knowledge of the soul. Now Muhammad sallam has limited knowledge of the soul, how the soul interacts. So then there's no reason to keep asking about the soul, except what he told us. How it comes out on death, things like that. But we don't know much more about that. The Christian philosophers spent too much time on where's the soul, and they just go astray. We don't need to worry about that. Prophet ﷺ said, this heart is the special organ that Allah has given you to see the world, to understand the truth, and gives you power. Power over yourself. If you purify it. Let me give you the evidence for this. In Surah Al-Anfal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Muhammad sallam, he says to him, your companions, they are not regular people. They are regular people, by the way, but they are special. If you can get 20 patient ones, those 20 will defeat 200 men who are not Muslim. How is it that 20 men can defeat 200 men? Physically, work it out for me. Is it possible? It's not, it's almost impossible. You'd have to have a very unique situation. Allah is saying, this is routine, standard, minimum. Give me 20 of your patient men, believe in Allah's qadr, believe in Allah's wisdom, strength, right? The strength comes from the heart. They will defeat 200 men. So Allah is tying the spiritual realm with the physical realm. He's saying, I will give you the strength of 10 men if you purify your heart. Subhanallah. By the way, this is the minimum for the companions. Minimum. There's more than this. One time, Amr ibn al-As, who opened up, radiallahu anhu, he opened up Egypt. So he called to Umar and said, I need reinforcements. So he said, how much do you need? He said, I need 1,000 men. So, or 4,000, I can't remember exactly. It's either 1,000 or 4,000. So Umar sent him one man, Al-Qaqa. And Amr ibn al-As sent him back. I asked you for 4,000 or 1,000. It's still a lot. And you sent me one. So Umar sent him back. I didn't send you anyone. I sent you Al-Qaqa. Because he alone is worth 1,000 men, and no army can be defeated if he is in it. The point is, the companions knew very well that one of them is not equal to one of the non-Muslims. They're much stronger. And that strength comes from Allah. Now, can we have the certainty and yaqeen of the companions? No. By the way, there are much more examples than that, but I will give you just a brief example. In the next ayah, in Surah Al-Anfal, Allah says, Allah knows, however, O Muhammad sallam, that in your ummah, there will be weakness of iman. There will be weakness. Meaning, some of this creeps in. So, if you bring me 100 of those with some iman, well, some weakness, I should say. A lot of iman and some weakness, they will defeat 200. This is in Surah Al-Anfal if you want to go and review. So, the first ratio was how much? if you have yaqeen, minimum, you will be 10 times stronger than one human being. Physically. Physically. What if you have iman, but there's some doubt mixed in? How much stronger will you be physically? 2 times. Because 100 to 200. What is the point of all of this? The point is to show you, you cannot defeat your own demons. You cannot break your own addictions. You cannot resist the temptations of this life. But with the strength of Allah, you can do everything. Easily. It will not affect you. You could be literally walking down the street and there are women everywhere and it does not affect you. I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying that it's possible to reach that point. And another evidence, because people like the stories, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, beautiful woman, rich woman, powerful woman, secure situation because it's in her own home. She can manage, okay? It's not like he's going to be caught really. I know later the husband came, but the way the scenario is painted in the Quran, it's secure, okay? The doors are closed. It's her own house. Even if her husband came, he's not going to tell on her anyway, okay? Look what Allah says about Yusuf alayhi salam. And by the way, before you think Yusuf alayhi salam does not have desires, Allah proves that he has desires like a regular man. But he did not even, listen to this, did not even cross his mind to disobey Allah. Do not believe some of these books of tafsir which are taking the lies from the Bani Israel books, right? And they say that Yusuf lied on top of her and then he saw the husband and then he left, all right? That's nonsense. No Rasul does that. No Prophet does that, okay? The story is correct in the Quran. Yusuf alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, he said, Hayta lak, I desire you. I'm leaning towards you. I want you. I'm prepared for you. Everything is set up, right? So he said, Ma'ad Allah, right? He says, A'udhu billah, right? Innahu Rabbi ahsana mathway. He is my Lord, and He has been good to me, right? He has done everything for me. Everything is from Allah, right? Innahu la yuflihu dhalimun. Those who make dhulm against their nafs, they will never succeed. How can you make dhulm against your nafs? This is review. This is a theme in the Quran, is very important. How do you make dhulm against your own nafs?
Going against commandments.
Yeah, so how is that oppressing your own nafs? If I'm letting my nafs do what it wants, how am I oppressing it? Oppressing means I take away from you something that belongs to you. This is the definition of oppression. I take from you that which belongs to you. Tangible or intangible. How can I oppress my own self when I'm letting it do what it wants?
By making it disobey Allah, I mean disappointing Allah, because...
Okay, so how did I oppress myself?
Taking away the iman that I have.
Fine, but give me more tangible, because humans like tangible. How am I oppressing myself if I took from you? If taking from you is oppression, a human cannot take from himself. He gives himself. But throughout the Quran, this is so common that you have to be alert to it. Allah mentions throughout, from the beginning of the Quran to the end, وَمَا ظَلَمُونَ وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. They make dhulm for their own selves. They do not make dhulm to us. You will never oppress Allah. You will only oppress yourself.
Because there's a punishment there.
Yes, because there's a punishment. So when you sin, you took dunya, right? You took dunya when you should not have taken it. And what did you lose? Jannah. Which is more important, more valuable? Jannah or dunya? Subhanallah. Imagine, I don't have that time to go tell you how nothing this dunya is compared to Jannah, right? Prophet ﷺ said to one of the companions, and I shared it with you before, but I'll share it again. One of the companions who was rich, he used to eat meat and butter every day in the desert. Meat and butter. That means you are rich. Okay? That's the food of the wealthy people. Today, alhamdulillah, all of us, we eat meat and butter and much more. He said to him, what happens to this meat and butter when you are finished? He said, oh Rasulullah, I am shy. I don't want to say. You know. So he said, this thing that you are not able to say because you are shy, this is the example of the dunya. This thing that we are all chasing, it is like that compared to Jannah. It is that. One day Rasulullah said to the companions, go down Who is going to bid on this dead donkey? Dead donkey, rotting with flies, belly is open, puffed up, smells bad, on the side of the road. So he said, I will take bids. Imagine an auctioneer. Rasulullah said, I will take bids for this donkey. To the highest bidder, who will bid? So the companion stayed silent. He said, bid for the donkey. So they said, Oh Rasulullah, not only will we not want to bid for the donkey, we will not take it for free. We don't want it. So he said, this thing that you don't want is the example of the dunya in the eyes of Allah. So you make dhulm for yourself. Every time you disobey Allah, every time you miss a prayer, you lost a piece of Jannah. For what? For a few minutes of relaxation, right? If you call it that, even though relaxation is in the prayer. But if you think, illusion, that you are relaxing outside the prayer, or you are making some money, or you are playing a game, and you missed a prayer, you just lost a huge chunk of Jannah. A piece you will never see again. Is that dhulm or not? You may still go to Jannah, by the way, but you missed out. So is that dhulm to your nafs or not? So you basically took some of the stuff that comes out after you eat food, and you left treasures and rivers and trees and great things that the eyes have never seen. Subhanallah. This is the dhulm of the nafs. So,
But I think the nature of Bani Adam is to do sins, as there was a narration that if man wouldn't have sinned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would create
yes,
another creation. to
correct.
sin. So then,
So you have to make inaba, okay? Which means minimize your sin and rush back to Allah as much as you can. Now, but I am building a point here. The point here is that someone can be strong enough, Allah can make someone strong enough that he does not even think about sinning. And this is called the wali of Allah. You will still sin, but the sins are relative. You have to understand. The sin of someone who's very close to Allah can be something very minor. And that's his sin. So, I hope you are not thinking that all of Bani Adam will sin the same. That's definitely not true. Every son of Adam and daughter will sin. But sins are at their level. Okay? So Abu Bakr, of course, by definition, he made mistakes. But do you think his mistakes compared to our mistakes? No, not even close. So, you get that point, right? Inshallah. So, Yusuf alayhi salam. Look what Allah says about him. وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا. She desired him. And he desired her. And a lot of scholars of tafsir made a mistake here and took the stories from Bani Israel and said he desired her and then he did this and did that and then he saw the husband and he stopped. Astaghfirullah. Okay? They did not read the ayah correctly. وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. She desired him. And Allah left it like that. She let her lust and desire go. Look at Yusuf alayhi salam, the example of this. The best example of the one who restricts himself in this situation. وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا. And he desired her, except that. Lawla, the word lawla in Arabic removes that which came before it, negates it. And he desired her, except that he knew the signs of Allah, meaning he knew the wisdom of Allah, which is what he just said. You will not succeed if you make dhulm against your nafs. Now, you might ask, if you are one who likes Quran, especially the syntax of Quran, which I like very much, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have made it much easier. He didn't have to say, and he desired her, except that. He could have said, and he did not desire her. She desired him, and he did not desire her. Done. Nobody would have made a mistake. No one would have misunderstood. Allah said, she desired him, and he desired her, except that. Which means he did not. But why did he say he did, but didn't? Why? Why do you think? I already gave the answer before.
Because he has a desire.
He has those desires. What Allah is trying to tell you is that Yusuf alayhi salam is not gay. Yusuf alayhi salam is a young, virile man. Strong man. He has the same feelings like any man. Right? Yet he did not desire her. Subhanallah. Now that's amazing right there. That's Tazkiyah. And in the next page, that page is on the top of that page, on the next page, in the middle, Yusuf says something amazing to Allah. He says, oh, so now this whole thing with the woman passes. Okay? Now she wants to prove to the other women that she's not psycho. Right? So she sits them down and she gives them the knives. You know the story. She brings Yusuf out. Yusuf realizes the plot against him to make him succumb to their desires, right? Look what he says. وَإِن لَمْ تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُمْ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنْ. And if you do not get me out of this situation, O Allah, I might begin to think about the haram. Asbu means it might cross my mind. So did it cross his mind? It never did. Not only did he never desire her, right? Even though he is virile. Virile means he is a regular man. But he also did not even cross his mind. Did not even, because you might ask, you might say, bad thoughts come into my mind. And alhamdulillah, you are not judged on that. Although Allah is aware of them. You are not judged on what you cannot control. But is it possible to not have bad thoughts? Or to at least minimize them significantly? Yes, the answer is yes, from the Quran. Yusuf is in the middle of the disaster. All the beautiful rich women around him, and not one single second, not even a fleeting thought, did he think about doing something haram. This is from him or from Allah? From Allah. That's why he's saying, look at this. Oh Allah, get me out. Get me out. Because if you don't, the thought will come. I'm human. So that's what I'm trying to say. We are weak. Once we realize that we are weak, we are a creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Insan is created weak. We are not like the angels in ibadah. We are not like the animals in strength. We are not like, the truth is, there's a reason why shaitan did not want to bow to us. Okay? We are weak in everything. So where does our strength come from? From Allah. When you submit to Allah, you gain that kind of strength. Other examples of physical strength that are translated from spiritual strength. These are all authentic. I don't bring you anything that, at least I try, that is not authentic. Again, just to strengthen your iman a little bit, to show you. The goal, by the way, is not to get this kind of karama, but to get the spirituality that leads to it. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he knew that he had sent an army somewhere, and somehow he had a vision that they were being defeated. So he climbed the minbar. Minbar where? In Medina. And the army is not in Medina. The army is somewhere else, far. There's no phones, there's no emails. He climbed the minbar and he gave instructions to the army. He said, I see you are losing. Put your backs to the mountain and you will win. There's no mountain that he sees. And the army, of course, is not even close to him to hear his voice. They heard his voice. They did what he said. They won the battle. They came back to Medina victorious. They said to Umar, "Oh Umar, it is as if you were there with us. We heard your voice and we did what you said and we won. But of course, it couldn't have been you." Umar said, "It was me. And I knew that Allah would send my voice to you." So the one who submits to Allah, He gives him strength. And this dunya is nothing but material. Meaning, you submit to Allah, Allah will make the dunya submit to you. One more example like this. This is in Sahih Bukhari. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, one of the great companions. He took an army to a sea. And he was there was rainwater and flooding, so the sea, what do they call it? Expanded, the tide came out, and so much that he couldn't take his army to meet the rendezvous point in time. So he got up, made wudu, prayed 2 rak'ahs. The actual surahs that he read are in Bukhari. He read the surahs. Then he came and gave a lecture to the people. And he said to them, I am the servant of Allah. And I have a duty. And I have a job. To rendezvous at this point. So, you can follow me if you want or not. But I will ride my horse over the sea. Subhanallah. He didn't even try it first. He just said, I will do it. This is somehow yaqeen. I'm not saying you should do that, by the way, okay? Because clearly Allah has given him some strength. He has shown him that you can do it. I don't know if this is... Have you ever felt like you could just do something? You know you can do it? Maybe not. But the point is, it happens. Humans can sometimes just realize that they can do it. And they just do it. So he did it. And subhanallah, he crossed the sea with his horse. And the entire army crossed behind him on the water. And Prophet ﷺ foretold this in one of his prophecies. He said, in my ummah, there will be an army that will cross the sea on his horses. And that happened after his death with that army. The point, once again, I'm not trying to tell you you're going to do all of these things. You won't, inshallah, okay? What I'm trying to say is there is spiritual strength that translates into physical strength. You cannot defeat your own demons. You are a sinner. You will never be able to be guided except by Allah. So ask Him for that guidance, which is the greatest dua in our religion. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Do not ever lose hope in Allah. Didn't Allah tell us that in the Quran? Don't lose hope. There is never a hopeless situation for a mu'min as long as Allah is with you. Never. And if you lose hope, this is a big sin. Some scholars say this is a major sin. To say, I lost hope, I give up. No, you don't give up. You give to Allah. Give in. You give in, submit. Say, oh Allah, I have nothing. I have no power. I tried my best. I can't win. I can't succeed. I can't defeat my demons. I cannot overcome this problem. I cannot overcome my addiction. Not with medicine, not with anything. Doesn't mean don't take medicine. Take it. But don't think that medicine will cure you. Only Allah will. And if Allah loves you, He'll make you see this. Meaning He'll bring you to your knees in this dunya until He shows you, you need to come to me. Then I will take care of you. So a shahwa is a lust, or we're not off the topic. It's a tangent, but it's important. Because a shahwa, or a desire, is an overmastering feeling. It controls you. You can't stop. And today, you hear on the media, and they teach you this. They feed our kids this to brainwash them. They tell them, you're an animal. You have animalistic needs. Nothing you can do about it. So they tell you now, I'm a human. It's natural. I have to, it's natural that I want that, or I'm greedy, or I lust after this. This is what animals do, and I'm an animal. Astaghfirullah. You see how the shaitan has cleverly allowed people to rationalize their sickness. The truth is, you are not an animal at all. You are something completely different than animals. Number two, you have tremendous ability to achieve control over your desire. Full and total control. So much so that Rasulullah said, you will not be a complete mu'min until your desire is exactly what I came down with. What Allah sent down to me. Meaning, when you begin to desire, you see this desire here? Overmastering desire is what Muhammad ﷺ wants, then you have completed your iman. That's what Allah said. Again, you will not have completed your iman until your desire, this overmastering power that you feel, this so-called animalistic craving, false. The desire is what I came with. So, if you imagine a person who is misguided, looking at pictures of women, there is some kind of desire and shahwa there, lust. Imagine you feel the same way he feels about qiyamul layl, praying in the night. SubhanAllah. Then your iman is very high. That's the measuring stick. And the scholars tell us about this concept. They said, if the people of shahwa only knew how much pleasure we get from the night prayer, they would fight us over it. But they don't. And they used to say, the scholars, and by the way, when scholars are not born scholars, you understand that, right? They're born regular, and then they do Tazkiyah, and then they become scholars. So when they say these things, they know what they're talking about. They used to say, one of us in prayer is having more pleasure than the person who is making zina. That's because desire is the same. It's just which way you direct it. You see? You can have great fulfillment from worshiping Allah. But we don't. And most Muslims, alhamdulillah, they worship Allah, but they worship Him reluctantly. And they don't worship Him lovingly and seeking that. But again, ask Allah, and He will give that to you, inshallah. And we said that there's no test more harmful for the men than the women. And we said not to be upset by this hadith, even though some women get upset. Because the problem is not in the women. The problem is in the men and the hearts of the men. If the men can control their hearts, then there would not be any issue. So it's not the women that are doing anything wrong. So do not misunderstand that. And we talk about fitna. Fitna means, what does fitna mean?
To burn,
Trial, but what does it mean in Arabic? To burn away
the impurity.
the impurities and to reveal the gold or silver underneath. Or copper. Hopefully we are not copper. Inshallah we are gold or silver. This hadith of Rasulullah. So Allah gives us difficult trials in this dunya. You might say, it's too hard. Why is Allah testing me? Why is Allah giving me such hard difficulties? Because He wants to see what you're made of. Gold or silver or copper, which is useless, worthless at that time. So the point is, say Alhamdulillah that Allah is testing me, and say, oh Allah, help me pass the test. That's how you pass tests. You pass tests by making taqwa, and then Allah will give you iman. Your next test will be harder or easier? Harder in absolute terms, easier in spiritual terms. So Ibrahim's test, hard or easy? Easy for him. Hardest test any human being can do. Go and kill your son that you've been waiting for forever. And now he is 10, he's starting to become strong. And smart, by the way. Ismail was very smart. So smart, he tells his dad, do what you must, and I will be patient. How many 9-year-olds speak like that? Oh, father, if Allah told you to do it, do what you must, and I will be patient. Kill this boy. Subhanallah. And now Ibrahim is 80 and he has no other child. Ishaq is not here yet. That's why Allah said in Surah Safat, He said, إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْبَلَاءُ الْمُبِينُ. This is the epitome of clear test. So everything is a test, right? But some tests are not clear. You don't see them as clear. Allah is saying this test of Ibrahim is the clearest test we have ever sent to humankind. This is the clearest test. That's why his story is extremely important. And study it and learn it. It's not just a bedtime story. And then Allah sent the ram down, everyone was happy. Okay? The point is, trust Allah and He will never let you do something bad or harmful, and everything will come out good in the end. But trust Him and do what you're supposed to do. And do not hesitate, and trust in Allah. Put Allah before everything else. So your eyes were created by Allah and they are a gift from Him. And Allah has a right to command you to do with your eyes whatever He wants. They belong to Him. Your eyes do not belong to you, just like nothing belongs to you. What do you possess in this world? Do you own anything? Do you have rights to anything? Huh? Do you have anything? What is the first ayah of the Quran? And the most important ayah in the whole Quran? Alhamdulillah. What does Alhamdulillah mean? Everything belongs to Allah. This is the most important concept in our religion. And it is the concept that differentiates our religion from all religions. That everything belongs to Allah. This is the most important ayah in the book. And it is the first ayah in the book. In the most important surah in the book. Fatiha, Kitab. Alhamdulillah, everything belongs to Allah. You don't own anything. In fact, you are nothing except that Allah made you something. Meaning He recognized you. The fact that Allah recognized you is mind-boggling and beyond imagination. Why would Allah recognize me? I am less than a speck of dust. Some people don't like this kind of talk, you know. They get irritated when we put ourselves down. They think that's too much, but that's not correct. The more you put yourself down, the more Allah elevates your status. The more you realize that you are nothing and Allah is everything, not in everything. Allah is everything, meaning He is the only one that's alive and real. You know what I mean, so it doesn't take it out of context. Allah is the only real being. Everything is created. Everything depends and relies upon Him. You are nothing and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everything. You are zero and He is magnificent. The more you humble yourself, the more you become significant. Because you say, oh Allah, I want to be close to You. I want to have significance by being close to You, O Allah. And this is the meaning of A'udhu Billah. A'udhu Billah means, I want to be near You. Allah, protect me. I want to be close to You, Allah. I want to seek protection with You. So, we ask that Allah make us close to Him. He sees what you see. He doesn't only see you, but whatever you see, He sees. You got that? Yeah, you. You're the youngest one here, so I want to make sure you know, right? So if your eyes are sitting and your father does not know what you are looking at, but you are looking, and no one in the world can tell what you are looking at. You know, you're wearing sunglasses, right? Sometimes you see people wearing sunglasses and it's not even sunny, and you wonder why they're wearing sunglasses, okay? Or you're hiding somewhere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't see you. He sees what you see. That's greater. He sees through you. He sees your thoughts and he hears your thoughts. He knows. So be careful. And a few examples of guarding the gaze from the lives of the companions. I know this is going to shock you a little bit, but take the example and do what you can. Okay, the companions were on a different level than us, but at least we should at least know the ideal. Okay, and then if you can't do it, say, "Oh Allah, forgive me." But there's no reason to joke around and say, that's just society we live in, and looking is normal. It's not. It's not appropriate. There was a companion who used to visit his friend, and a servant who used to introduce him as the blind man. So the servant, an uneducated servant, used to introduce him. He used to come visit his friend frequently. So every time he comes, he never used to look at her, right? So she used to think he was blind. So she kept introducing him as, your blind friend is here, right? Even though he was not blind. This is how the companions used to be. This is authentic hadith. Rasulullah was riding his camel, and a young boy who was 9, 10. Ghulam means 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13, starting to become curious about women, okay? So he is riding the camel, just so you know how to raise your kids. Turning a blind eye, pun intended, to this is not smart. Rasulullah did not do that. He saw the young man. Look how attentive Rasulullah is. He is the head of state. He is the greatest man who ever lived, and he is looking at a 10-year-old boy. And he sees a 10-year-old boy looking at a group of women during Hajj. Okay? Now in Hajj, I don't want to get in details, but the clothing for women is slightly different. Okay? So, he's looking at the women in Hajj, and his head, Rasulullah notes that his head is turning with them. They're walking, and he's looking. Okay? So Rasulullah, look at the fatherly figure. He puts his hand, Rasulullah, his blessed hand, on his head, and he goes like this. He turns it away. So the boy knew, he understood. Don't look. All right? That's how we raise our children. Okay? Now, they might look, even when you're not there, but you teach them. One day, inshallah, they won't. Out of knowledge that it is the wrong thing to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will guide them, not you. But it is your job to teach them. And by the way, you think those women were not wearing clothes in Hajj? They were wearing full garb, yet the boy was still looking. So the fitna of women exists even with clothes or not clothes, okay? As the Quran mentions, it says, Allah knows when the women bang their heels to make their anklets, the jewelry on their heels, heard by the men. And that drives the men crazy. So clearly, it's not just the visual. Of course, today we are inundated with this stuff. But in those days, one of the companions, he was young, and he I'm trying to put the hadith in a good way. We respect all the companions and we love them and we learn from them. But if they were not human, then we could not learn. Okay? So this story, take it for the good lesson in it. One of the companions, there was a woman who was milking a cow or something. She was doing something in a farm setting. And he saw that her sleeve had rolled up a little. Okay? So he looked at the sleeve. Now Rasulullah said, if you happen to see something sudden, that happens, right? You're just walking and boom, it's right there in front of you. So what do? Rasulullah said, turn away. So, and he said, the first look is for you. Gift, you got it, okay? Second look is against you. Meaning you look, you got shocked, you saw it, turn away. If you look again, then you are sinful. And he said, so someone silly used to ask me in other lectures, he used to say, so what if you look the first time and you keep looking, right? So you don't turn away. So then I said, then this goes by intention, okay? So obviously your intention is foul, and Allah will know that. You cannot trick Allah, okay? So Rasulullah said, if you see a sudden image, turn away, say, A'udhu Billah, make taqwa. Okay, make taqwa. And don't look again. This companion, in this particular hadith, he looked again. And he looked for a little bit longer. So he became extremely sick. Rasulullah came to visit him. So he said to him what happened. He said, Rasulullah, you will not believe what I did. I am ruined. I am going to Jahannam. I looked at a woman's arm, okay? And I kept looking. And I am dying of this sickness. SubhanAllah. The sickness of his sin. So Rasulullah said, be patient, tahur, all the things that you say to someone who is sick. The man developed a fever and died. SubhanAllah. From this shows you how much they took seriously those mistakes, those sins. And it also shows you the level. Like, that was a forearm, okay? And today, subhanAllah, if you see a forearm, you say, alhamdulillah, the society is good, okay? So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. But this is how the companions were with this. And I gave you the story of Uthman and Umar, right? Umar came to marry Uthman's daughter. And from how much the companions used to guard their gaze, Uthman's daughter was surprised that Umar, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the most powerful man at that time, was looking straight at her, wide open eyes, delivering a plate of food. So she said to him, if you were not Amir al-Mu'mineen, meaning if I would not be committing a great crime because you cannot attack your ruler, right? Then I would pluck your eyes out with this spoon because you are looking at me. So, and she said, I will complain to all the companions about you and my father, Uthman. So she ran to Uthman. Shows you the power of the women, right? She went to Uthman radiallahu anhu, and she said to him, Omar, your friend, that's what he's doing. He looked at me, right? So he started laughing, Uthman. So she got very upset that he was laughing, right? Told him it was a very serious issue. So he said to her, he's allowed to look because he wants to marry you. That's the exception Rasulullah gave. So when she heard this, she became calm and she said, in that case, I accept his proposal, right? So he did in fact marry her. So this shows you the level. And women should not want men to look at them unless it's for an allowable reason. And this is out of respect to women, not like the society teaches you, but when we don't shake the hands of women and we don't lust after their appearance, we are respecting them. What they say matters. What they think matters. Not only how they look. This is the reason why the companions, when they pray, they cry. Right? Who controls the tears of the eyes? Huh? Who controls the khushu' and the salah? Who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Ibn al-Qayyim said something funny. He said, the only one who controls his tears from the humans is the munafiq. Right? The hypocrite. He controls his tears. When people are watching, he lets it out. Right? And when they're not watching, his eyes are dry. You understand what I'm saying? He's showing off. But he said, for the mu'min, the tears are controlled by Allah. He sends down something on your heart, khushu'ah, he humbles you, the tears come. Right? So you wonder why when we pray, we yawn. Why we don't focus. Why we don't taste the sweetness that Rasulullah described. Rasulullah will be busy, and then he would say, oh Bilal, time for some relaxation. Let's pray. Opposite today. Today, let's go pray quickly and get it over with. And come back to fun. Rasulullah is saying, let's leave this dunya, man. It's too much headache, too much trouble. Let's get some relaxation and pray. He said, "Arihna biha ya Bilal." Give us relaxation with salah. And I told you the story of the companions who were standing guard on the outskirts of Medina. 2 of them. And any eyes that stand guard for the Muslims, for the sake of Allah, those eyes will never go to Jahannam. Also, the eyes that tear from the khashya of Allah will never go to Jahannam. And the eyes that do not look at other women or men. Those are 3 eyes that will never go into Jahannam. Never touch Jahannam. Now, if your eyes will never touch the fire, Your eyes are part of your body. So what does that mean? If your eyes do not touch the fire, you will not be in the fire. So anyway, so they spend the night guarding. One of the companions would pray, and the other one would guard. Then he would pray, and the other would guard, and they would alternate the whole night. Okay. So one of the companions was praying, and the other one was guarding, and not paying attention to him. And then he was shot by an arrow while he was praying, and he did not make a sound. And then he was shot again, and he did not make a sound. And then, finally, the other companion noticed when he was almost so weak that he was collapsing. So he said to him, "Why didn't you tell me that you were shot? Make a sound, say subhanallah, do something, right? Exit the prayer. I mean, you have every right at this point." So he said to him, "Wallahi, I was in 2 rak'ahs that were more beautiful to me than this whole world and what is in it. I did not feel the arrows and I did not care." Subhanallah. So clearly, there's a big difference between what they were experiencing and what we're experiencing. And it is because they put the effort, they made taqwa. They overcame some of their desires by resisting. It's not easy initially. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increased their iman. This is why we don't cry in the prayer. This is why we don't feel it in our heart, as people say. Very, very common thing. I do pray. I do fast. I give sadaqah. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's because we very easily succumb to our desires. And we don't seek Allah's help in preventing that. And Jazakumullah khairan. I think that's enough for today. And if anyone has any questions, you can ask me afterwards. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم. May Allah benefit all of us.
So, I had a question. You said you were going to go into the wali thing. I was
The wali thing?
Like you mentioned wali.
Yeah.
So I had a personal question. I don't. Some people speak about stories. I did iftikaf at a masjid, like mostly say Sufi masjid. And they, like the imam of the masjid and the people in the masjid, they were giving handouts and books. The reason why I didn't do it here is because I live across the street, so it doesn't make sense to me. I wouldn't be able to pass it right now. So then they were like talking about stories of it, and I spoke to